Hey, Aubrey, what's shaking?
Not much. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. What's going on in your world?
Hmm. Today's been an interesting day. My kids are back in school after spring break. Thank goodness. But I want to ask you about something because my neighbors a couple nights ago locked themselves out of their house at midnight. They got home late and they were locked out. They didn't have a spare key. They had
Oh,
to
no.
call a locksmith
Oh,
and they
no.
waited for hours for this locksmith.
This is everyone's worst nightmare, right?
I know. Has that ever happened to you that you've locked yourself out maybe of your house or your car?
Yeah, it has. I can't think of a specific time right now, but it has.
I did it
Absolutely.
once. I locked myself out of my car when I was living in Montreal.
Oh,
We just
no.
like parked it somewhere. And this is before automatic door locks, guys, where you had to use the
Yes.
key to lock. And we just had left the key inside, shut the door, and it locked, and we couldn't get it out. Had to call a
Oh,
locksmith. We had to actually, this was
no.
before cell phones. So we had to walk to a payphone or
A
to a store
payphone.
and we asked to borrow their phone, I think, and had to call a locksmith and then walk back to the car because it was like on the road in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this kind of thing can be really stressful. That's why always having a spare key is really good. But with your car, it's hard to know where to keep a spare key. Sometimes people
I
keep them
know.
under the car. They have those
I
little
know, like in
things.
a little magnet thing, but I
Yeah,
feel
those
like
little
that's so dangerous. Someone could
seems
check for it
dangerous.
and just lock it, break
I
into your
know.
car,
I
steal
know.
it.
We're giving everyone advice now.
I know. Don't do that. Don't steal my
Don't do
car,
that.
please.
I don't
I
keep
know
my
where
keys
people
under
will
my
have a
car.
hide a key on their house
Mm,
somewhere, but
yes.
usually it's in some kind of lockbox that maybe they know the code to or something is wise, because that is problematic if the only
Hmm.
way to get into your home is a key that you happen to not have on you.
Yeah, we had a weird experience with doors locking this week actually. We accidentally threw away our garage door opener in the trash. And then we went downstairs. We threw it away like on Sunday. And then it was Tuesday. We went downstairs in the middle of the day. The garage door is wide open. And it's not safe in my neighborhood for the garage door to be wide open. We
Oh
had
no.
skis and the like, it's not good. You don't leave your
Yeah.
garage door open here. And so we thought, oh my God, how long's it been open? Has someone been in the house? Looking, are the skis there? Are the bikes there? And we think that what happened was when the trash came and they emptied the trash, the garage door thing got hit
Triggered
and it
it.
was just up the street. So it triggered it. It was far away enough. We don't know how long it was open. And it was weird. It made me think, oh my gosh, did someone get the code? Did they get
Right.
in? Yeah,
Ooh,
it was
I
crazy.
know. We added finally smart garage door openers, and it's been
Smart.
the best because now we can see from our cell phone if the garage doors are closed. Because so often
Yes.
I'll leave and think, did I close the garage? I don't remember. So it's nice to be able to check. And then
Yes.
you just have so many more options as far as getting into your house, locking it up when
It's
you're
so much
away.
better.
Oh, so
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, we're gonna add that now because not good.
Oh,
Definitely not
right.
good. So,
Well, this is
anyways,
interesting. We had a listener ask about this expression, this phrasal verb, lock out. So,
yes.
this is an interesting one. And I think this is a great phrasal verb to use to make connections because everybody either has a story about locking themselves out of something or knows
Mm-hmm.
someone who did. And just like I shared about my neighbor, this is an interesting enough story that you can share it about someone else you know. What a
Yeah.
fun way to start a conversation, just to ask someone, have you ever locked yourself out of something?
Yeah, we want you guys to be ready to have these conversations with native speakers. So you should be ready. So this question is from Cam from Australia. Aubrey, would you read the question for us today?
Sure. I've
Awesome.
been listening to your podcast since February 2018. Long time listener.
Wow,
I
long
love that.
time.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I have improved a lot. I would give it 10 stars if I could. Yes, I love that.
So good.
You are doing a great job. One of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. I like
Well,
your pleasant voices, and I love Lindsay's laugh in between the conversations. It is very musical.
well,
I
thank you,
love that.
Cam. That's
That's
fantastic.
awesome. Okay, so then I have one question. Could you please give some examples of the phrase, I locked myself out? For example, I locked myself out of the internet banking because I made some mistakes. Thank you,
Mm,
Cam, for this amazing question, because
yes.
so far we've just been talking about physically locking ourselves out of something. You can lock
Right.
yourself out of your house or your car, but Cam brings up an interesting point that there are a lot of other things you can lock yourself out of, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, we know that you guys are at the level that you're ready to speak beyond just the physical aspect of life, right? You're talking about online work or something in a movie, right? I feel like every action movie that I've seen comes down to you have to enter the code. And if you enter it wrong 5 times, everything blows up.
Yes, exactly. Right. Then you're locked out and you
You're
can
locked
never
out.
get in
You're
again.
locked out. Exactly.
Has this ever happened to you, Lindsay, that you put your password in too many times and get locked out?
Yeah, it has, especially banking passwords. And then, yeah, it's happened to me a few times where I got a little scared. I thought, oh my gosh, can I not get access to my money? Right. That kind of thing. Yeah.
I
What
had
about
this
you, Aubrey?
horrible situation lately because my eldest daughter just turned 15 and she started working. So we needed to start a bank account for her.
Sure.
And she did this where she put in the wrong password too many times on her online app and got locked out. And she tried to call and she was like too long on hold. So she had me call. So I'm on hold forever. They finally answer and they said, like they had to talk to her. I was so frustrated.
Oh no, and she wasn't home
me
anymore. Oh, that is
yes,
so
and I had
frustrating.
waited. It's like so
Yeah.
upsetting when you have to wait forever and then for nothing.
Yeah, banks have very strict triggers. And that was the problem when I called in, like having done it too many times. And then you said the wrong thing with the security questions, and it triggers this thing where they won't talk to you anymore. They're like, we're hanging up. We won't talk to you. It's a liability for them. Right.
I
It's
worry
crazy.
that this will happen with one of our safes. You can get locked out of a safe, right?
Oh, scary.
And we have, my husband owns several guns and we have them in a safe.
Mm.
And it's like very high level security because we
don't tell us where it is.
risk of a kid getting in there. It's so horrifying.
Oh my gosh, of course.
I know. And so it's kind of fascinating because a lot of our listeners may be surprised to hear that the average person owns guns, at least in the Western United States. Yes, the average person owns several guns. All my brothers, my dad, they all hunt, they all own guns. But I grew up really having it be very important to keep them locked up and away from where anyone could ever get to them who shouldn't get to them.
Sure. Wow.
And but this can happen if you enter the combination wrong, because we also have, of course, important papers and passwords in there and things.
Yeah.
And then you can get locked out and
permanently.
There is no one. Yeah, there's no one you can call to like break into that for you, except for maybe, I don't know, a lock breaker.
So, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think about like something like LastPass online, right? That's another example. If you lose your password, you have to reset it, and then you have to reset all your passwords. You have to start fresh because they don't keep your password because it's a liability for them. But interesting. We should do another episode someday. Come back to the gun topic, Aubrey. I think that's a really interesting, rich area for us to talk about. And in our course, Connected Communicator, we did a whole module on that. Guys, to check out that course, go to allearsenglish.com/connection. So interesting.
It's fascinating. You interviewed some people who, what's really fascinating is even among Americans, citizens in the United States, you'll find people who have very differing opinions about gun ownership, gun control, gun safety, and it's fascinating. And so those interviews are really interesting. Not only can you learn a lot of English, you'll learn so much about American culture and mindset.
Yeah, you couldn't get so many different answers, right, to one question. Right. It's fascinating. So we're going to come back to that topic. I love it. But thanks for sharing that example. Very interesting.
For sure. So this is an interesting phrasal verb. There are a lot of things that you can get locked out of, but there's also, you guys have likely seen the word in the news, lockout. And this is a little different. This is either it's when any company prohibits their employees from working. So it's the opposite of a strike. A strike, employees are choosing to not come into work. And it's usually for a similar reason. They're wanting some kind of change to a contractor. They're negotiating something. Right. And so on the reverse of that, a company will have a lockout and they stop employment. They don't allow their employees to work until a contract is negotiated. So just last week, this was in the news because there was a Major League Baseball lockout that finally ended. They finally came to terms.
Oh, good. Well, I was following that a little bit and then I kind of lost track of it. Yeah.
I feel like it happens for baseball all the time. I looked this up a little bit. It's 9 times there has been a work stoppage, some kind of either a walkout, strike, or a lockout.
And it doesn't seem to happen with other sports that much, does it? Why is it baseball?
No, I don't know. It's a really good question. So I wonder if it probably has to do with their union, because it's always about the union fighting for certain rights or certain contracts, right? And so my guess is that for other pro sports, either there is no union or the union works very differently.
Yeah, baseball is such a, well, I'm not a big baseball fan, but it's such an important part of our culture here. American culture, being able to go to a game, get a burger or a hot dog.
I
It's so
love going to a
American and
baseball
that's so
game.
fun sometimes,
It is fun. Both my daughters play softball, so it's fun to go to their softball games.
Yes.
And I love going
Yeah.
to a baseball game. It's true, it is very all American. But this I don't love. Like everything I've ever learned about Major League Baseball and these lockouts and the bonkers high contracts they're paid, things like that. I don't love that. I try to ignore that when I go to a baseball game.
Is it like one of the highest
think
paid
so.
sports? Okay. But they're still arguing. Okay. Well, I don't know the details, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
But,
I know we don't know that much about it, but all pro
yeah,
athletes are, paid a
well
lot,
paid.
but
Sure.
I think baseball's really high. But it's not just baseball, right? There
Mhm.
are lockouts for other companies. There was a really big one in 2011 in Minnesota. The union workers at American Crystal Sugar plants had a lockout where the company locked out 1,300 workers until they figured out their new contract, right? So this doesn't happen that often in the United States, but it does happen. And I would be really curious if this is something that happens in other cultures.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, this is really interesting. This is more interesting than the conversation about, did you get locked out, right? This is a cultural topic, the conversation you could have with a native speaker and really connect. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you can share in your culture, if strikes happen, do employees go on strike? If lockouts happen, do companies lock out their employees from working?
Yes.
I guarantee you, any English speaker is going to be fascinated, is going to want to know what's that like in your culture? What's that like where you live?
Yeah, because I think in the US, like the climate towards labor is very different than in other countries, like in Europe, right? I think things are changing a little bit here in the US, but it's always been very, very different, unions and that kind of thing. So this would be a fantastic topic to bring up.
Definitely. So interesting. Well, let's do a role play. We're going to talk about this phrasal verb that Cam asked about, locked out, and give you lots of sentences here that you could use it in. So,
all right. So in this case, what's happening? Yes. So it looks like we're having coffee, right?
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say it. So we're having coffee, we're chatting, and I want to spice up the conversation. What does that mean, by the way? Aubrey, a little phrasal verb.
It is to make it more interesting. Yeah, this is an idiomatic phrasal verb. If you add spice to a meal, it makes it more delicious, more flavorful. If you add spice to a conversation, you're adding interest. You're adding engagement, right? So spice something up, make it more interesting.
I love that because we don't want to just talk about the everyday things, right? Let's see how we do this. Here we go. All right. Have you ever locked yourself out of something?
Yes. I got locked out of my car last summer at the lake.
Oh no. How did that happen?
I actually closed the trunk and then I realized the keys were inside.
Oh no. What'd you do?
We had to call a locksmith and then we waited 3 hours for him to show up.
Oh, that's the worst. Was she able to help?
Yeah, she got the lock open, but then we went home and realized we were locked out of the house.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So I'm spicing up the conversation by asking that random question, right? Is that what we mean by spicing up the conversation?
Right? Oh, that's the thing about this phrasal verb is it's a fun thing to ask people about. Like I was saying at the beginning of the episode, everyone has done this. They've locked themselves out of a car, a house, their bank account, a safe. There's something that you've accidentally locked yourself out of. And if not, someone that has, and it usually lends toward a funny, interesting story. So this is a great way to spice up a chat, to ask them when they got locked out of something.
Yeah. That would be a fun topic for an episode too. Another day is an episode on fun ways to spice up a boring conversation, right? Let's say you're having coffee and it's kind of boring. What's a question you can throw in there just to brighten the person's eyes and think, let me tell a story. This is fun, right?
Yes. Good idea.
Yes.
Good view. I like that.
Good stuff. So what's a takeaway for our listeners?
Yeah, well, as you guys know, phrasal verbs can be really difficult. There are so many with the word lock, right? If you think about, lock in, lock up, lock away, lock onto, lock into. With today's episode, you have some deep clarity on lockout and the phrasal verb to lock yourself out of something, as well as that word that you're going to see, lockout, meaning a company stoppage of work, of employees working. So now you can ask friends for stories about this to spice up your conversation.
All right. Good stuff. All right, Aubrey, thanks for hanging out today. This has been fun and I'll see you on the next one.
Yes. So fun. See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.